Well, morning folks, Sunday morning. We're back to Romans 8 and we're just working through very slowly, verse by verse, this incredible passage beginning verse 31. What then shall we say in response to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? He who did not spare his own son, but gave him up for us all, how will he not also, along with him, graciously give us all things? And then we're going to look at verse 33. Who will bring any charge against those whom God has chosen? It is God who justifies, or who will bring any charge against God's elect? Now it's so interesting. A lot of Christians hate the idea of election. They can't get their heads around it, predestination. Now Paul's already taught this in Romans 8. And they try to explain it away. They think it's unfair and they don't want to charge God with unfairness. And so they try to find a way around it. Now, having said that, there are those who really like the doctrine of predestination and they don't seem to grasp or understand it. And it's a very difficult one to grasp and understand. So, let me just try and help you in this way. Look at what the text says. Okay? It's as simple as that. Martin Lloyd-Jones says this: do you think of yourself as one of God's elect, one of God's chosen people? Many of our troubles arise from the fact that we do not think of ourselves in this way, and that we think of the Christian as one who has decided for Christ. The emphasis should be the other way round. The Christian is one who has been elected, chosen of God, and precious for that reason. The charge here, the statement here is not, who's going to bring any charge against those who believe in Jesus Christ? But it's who's going to bring any charge against those whom God has chosen. And the trouble is, we think of choice a bit like in the school playground, when kids used to play in playgrounds. That if you're picking a team for football, the thing that you didn't want was to be chosen last. You chose people according to their merit, or if you liked them or whatever. And there's this idea, is God choosing us on that basis? Now actually, if you don't believe in predestination, that really is what you're saying, because you're saying God's choosing us because we choose him. Because we have the intelligence, the wit, the morality or whatever to choose him. But the Bible teaches something different. Who is going to charge you if God has chosen you? It is God who justifies. So I think that the doctrine of predestination is really important in that. I genuinely believe that I am a Christian not because of any merit within myself, but because God chose to. Now, the question then immediately arises, what about others? I don't know. That's not the issue. Do I have any responsibility? Yes, I do. I can't just say, well, I'm just going to sit here and if God chooses, he can send me ravens to feed me. No, I go out and purchase stuff and so on. So human agency is not removed in this, but there's an overarching thing. And once you grasp that, then you realize that we can't be charged. Who's going to bring any charge? We've been cleared not just of one sin, but we've been cleared of everything. If you've ever been to court and you're announced cleared, not guilty, I mean, what a relief that must be. I mean, I've never had that experience, but who knows? I mean, it just must be a tremendous relief. Well, it's as though we've been going through the book of Job, and it's as though Job is in the court of God, and God says he's cleared. He's cleared. And there's no appeal. You know, if you went to court and you won, maybe someone could appeal against you and keep appealing. But the highest court that there is not the Supreme Court in the United States or the European Court of Human Rights or the Supreme Court in I don't know what it is in Australia actually, or nor is it the Supreme Court in the UK. The highest court beyond which there is no appeal is the heavenly court. God's the judge, God's the lawgiver, and God determines the verdict. How does that comfort? I'll tell you how it comforts me. I know that I'm bad. I know that there is a heart of darkness dwells within. I know something of my own sin, but not all of it. I know that I have failed, but I rely totally on the Lord Jesus Christ. And I say, well, who's going to bring a charge against me? Who can bring any charge against me? You know, People troll through your social media. I knew somebody once who got an algorithm and went through absolutely everything I'd ever written, trying to find something to blame me for. Now, I could have sent him to some stuff. But in the court of God, the devil as the accuser can come and say, but you did this, you said this, you thought this, you are this. And the answer is, yes, but who's going to bring any charge against me? Because God has chosen me and God has justified me, made me right with him through his Son, Jesus Christ. Now, I think that's a wonderful, wonderful truth, and you need to think about the practicalities of it. I think if you're not a Christian, you need to say, well, what are you going to say when you stand before God on the day of judgment? You need to come to Christ. You might go, oh, well, how do I know if I'm chosen? Listen, you've been chosen to hear this. If you're listening to this, maybe God is calling you to follow him. In fact, he is calling you to follow him. And if you are a Christian, just take great assurance that it's not your steadiness. It's not your belief and your faith ultimately that saves you. It's God having called you, God having chosen you, God having glorified you, God having justified you. Those are just great things. You find all of that, of course, in Romans 8. Right, it's coming up to Christmas. The next one will be after Christmas. So I thought I would play this tune, if YouTube allowed me to, the Christmas Oratorio from the Trinity College Choir from J.S. Bach. Not the whole thing. It's worth listening to the whole thing. I love listening to Classic FM just now because it gets this wonderful music. But this bit, it's just absolutely gorgeous. And as you listen to it, just think about it like this, that Christ came to choose you and to call you and to justify you and to glorify you, to save you, to keep you. Isn't it wonderful? God bless you. Bye.
Vermag es einzusehen, wie in dir Menschen Leid bewegt.